Hello and welcome to Ideagen TV, powered by Azure and presented globally by Microsoft. Today we are thrilled to welcome Renee McAlpin, EduQuality Manager at Opportunity International Edu-Finance, as she leads up an incredible power panel with some of her colleagues. Renee, welcome.
Hi, my name is Renee McAlpin. I'm the Global Manager for the Education Quality Program at Opportunity International. I'm here today with three incredible panelists whom I'll introduce in a moment, and also give you a brief introduction about what it is that we're going to talk about today related to innovation in education technology in low and middle income countries across the world. So the panelists today I've worked with for the last several years on a very interesting project. So Kyle Thornton, who's the Education Portfolio Manager from Cisco Foundation, along with Adrien Bouillot, who's the founder of Chalkboard Education based in Ghana. I also have Njine, who is an education specialist and my colleague from Opportunity International Kenya. So we're all joined today because we all work on this partnership that's aimed on getting more children access to better quality education across Africa, South Asia, and Latin America. Before the pandemic and COVID-19 caused global school closures across all of our countries of operations, a lot of school systems, both in rich economies and poor economies, were beginning to look at how they can integrate technology to better improve efficiency and efficacy of education. And so this started long before COVID-19, but has become even more important now with a lot of the challenges that we've faced over the last 18 months. And that's looking at how we can bring a very high quality training program, professional development program to school leaders and teachers in non-state affordable schools. And so what that means is looking at how we can bring the in-person training complemented with the digital training through a team of local education specialists. The challenge that we're trying to address here is the fact that in the schools that we work with, which are local community schools, mom and pop schools run independently by members of the community, have opened these schools to address a need, a lack of access of education in their communities, but they do not have access to formalized training, on school management and operations. The teachers don't have access to teacher certification programs or ongoing professional development. So we're really filling a gap in the system to make sure they get the support they need to deliver the best possible education to the students that attend their schools. And many of the countries we operate, like Ghana, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, maybe in some locations, upward of 50% of school-going children will attend schools like these. And so before we introduced this new blended learning model through the partnership with Chalkboard Education and the Cisco Foundation, all of our training was done in person. Everything was paper-based. And so we're looking at ways in which we could reduce unit costs of our program, make it more efficient, make it more scalable, and also bring the highest quality program to the schools and find the best ways to support our team, our local education specialists like Anne, who's with us today, deliver the program. And so with the integrations of a digital platform that was developed by Chalkboard Education, we're now able to bring highly contextualized and localized content that is adapted in the proper languages, aligned with the proper curriculum and education standards directly to the schools. And so I'm going to stop there because I really want our panelists to talk a little bit about their contribution to the partnership, the different ways in which they invest in education, the ways in which they develop technological innovations, and the way they work directly hand in hand with school leaders. So I want to start with you, Anne. I know you work directly with school leaders and teachers. You deliver this program using technology every single day. I know you joined the program in 2019. So it'd be great to hear a little of your firsthand experience and stories about the value that these school leaders and teachers bring to their communities and the opportunity that we have to serve them, improve the quality of education they deliver to the schools.
Okay, thank you, Renee, for this opportunity. So one of the experiences we had when we first started in Kenya was that we got to meet the schools individually, and we got to go for school visits, and there was a lot to learn. So we realized that the schools did have a lot of needs, and the school leaders, most of them did not have extended knowledge on how to run a school, but most of them were teachers. So they got out of the classroom and started a school, and they were running the schools. So we did realize and observe that they had needs, like they did not have proper school management systems. This really affected the schools because we realized that they did not have conducive environments for learning. And this caused even children to not to come to school, not to be comfortable in their education spaces. And also we realized that the school leaders were getting school fees paid, but most of them did not have financial modes of managing their finances. So the other thing that we did realize is that school leaders had poor leadership. And this cost them a lot because there was high teacher attrition, and also there was no parent engagement. So schools were really struggling to pick up and work together with the stakeholders. One other thing is that the schools did not have a proper culture. And this cost them a lot because if it came to behavior, things like behavior, which is a backbone, I would say, of a school, we realize that all teachers would just discipline children according to what they knew. And this also caused a lot of issues with the community, with the parents. And one of the things that we really talk about for the schools to come is corporal punishment. And there was a lot of corporal punishment happening. So one of the things is that the schools did not engage the parents. And we realized that this affected especially the girl child, because most of the schools we work in are schools that are in the informal settlements, and these parents who bring the children to these schools are casual laborers. These parents need to go to work, but they did not have anyone to live with the younger children. So they would pull out the the older girls, to take care of their younger siblings. And also we did realize that young girls also could not go to school because of sanitation issues within the schools. So those are some of the issues that we did face within the schools. However, there were very many opportunities that the schools had to engage the community, to engage the parents, but they were not able to jump on these opportunities and work on them. So this really made the schools struggle with quality education, because they could not be able to bridge the learning gaps that were coming up in schools. Then one other thing is that schools had an opportunity to promote social justice, and also both social justice and gender equality. This was to ensure that both girls and boys would get equal opportunities at the schools, and also that the girls were now the parents were being talked to and being engaged on ensuring that they did not use the older girls to take care of the younger siblings, but they found other ways of taking care of the younger children so the girls can also go to school. But when we look at the environments, when I talked about sanitation, we also realized that the school leaders had an opportunity to maybe work with the communities to just find ways of ensuring that the environment is conducive, to ensure that they have more spaces. And we did see schools come up with ideas where they worked with the local village elders or local authorities to ensure that their spaces were also secure, because again, most of our schools are in the informal settlements. There's also the schools having an asset that they did not really capitalize on. When we talk about the school community has all these stakeholders that could really support the schools, but most schools did not realize that they needed to work with the parents hand in hand. They didn't realize that they needed to work with the learners, and learning had to take place from home to school. We also saw that school leaders did not understand how to work with their teachers. They did not know what to do, and they always looked at the teachers as people who were just passing by. So when we came in, those were some of the things that we observed, and we felt that our guide and our framework was really going to help them, because these were issues that were really going to make them not reach the kind of quality education that the education space needs. Thank you, Renee.
No, thank you so much, Anne. I think that explanation that you just gave gives our audience a really good idea about, you know, the types of schools we work with and the types of challenges that we're addressing here. And you know, Anne, you and I worked pretty closely, virtually, hand in hand over the last year in terms of how we can support schools through COVID-19 school closures. Can you talk a little bit about how you've seen schools navigate this period of time? And, you know, just now we had schools reopen, and then suddenly, with a moment's notice, they closed again, and now we're reopening for a second time, and it's been incredibly disruptive. And I know you've seen a lot of really great, you know, stories about people who have been incredibly resourceful. Would you mind sharing a little bit in terms of what you've seen?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off with a story of a school that is within our program. This school, the school director came up with a brilliant idea on ensuring that they engaged all the learners during the pandemic. So what she did was she had a ratio of a certain ratio where one teacher was supposed to take care of 8 children through virtual messaging, and also ensuring that they also did some home visits, and they call them pods. So we found that a teacher would have about 5 to 8 children. They would follow up day in, day out. If the children felt insecure within their environment, they made sure that they spoke to these teachers. If the children were hungry, they also spoke to these teachers. We saw school leaders go out of their way to solicit for food to ensure that the school community was well fed, because it was a difficult time for everyone, and parents did even lose their jobs. So we saw the school leaders really collaborate and come together and ensure that the children within their society and their communities were well taken care of. One other thing is that they held parent engagement forums during the pandemic, and they were worried because of the psychosocial support. Psychosocial and mental issues that the parents would go on. So what we did is we supported these schools through this time. We came up with a COVID-19 response toolkit where we ensure that the school leaders were well equipped. We also invited guests who would talk to them via platforms like Facebook, and the school leaders would tune in, and they would watch live sessions where they would be advised on how to take care of themselves, how to take care of their teachers, and to ensure there's a mode of communication, and they are aware of what is really happening. But even towards reopening, when schools were announced that they were going to reopen, so as we know, we work in different countries, so each country schools were open at a different time. But what we did as Opportunity International EduQuality is that we ensured that the school leaders were well equipped. We had a pathways to reopening guide, which was even translated to different languages. And this guide was going to help the school leaders to ensure that they are ready before reopening. They were ready when schools were opened, and what they were supposed to do even when schools reopened. This guide was going to guide them on 5 sections. We looked at areas like clean and safe environment conducive for learning. We also looked at how they were going to engage their staff. When schools were closed, were they engaging their staff? Were they ensuring that the staff were comfortable as well? And also areas like teaching and learning. How was learning taking place when schools were closed? We saw schools come up with different brilliant ideas and engaging learners. We have a school in rural Kenya that came up with interesting ways of making sure that the learners came in and took some work to go and do at home. They had drop-off and pick-up points. Again, we also looked at the business and financial management. These schools were not earning. It was the whole 9 months they were at home, and it was very difficult for them. But as time went by, it became easier because the school leaders had to find other ways and other ways of coming up with revenue. So the little that they had saved by the time schools were reopening, how are they going to manage it? They were not sure how many children were going to come back to school. So they had to make sure that they had some way of engaging the parents, so that by the time schools reopened, they were ready and they knew what was going to happen. And some of the testimonials we got is that the school leaders felt equipped. They felt ready, they felt happy because and comfortable at their own space at that particular time. So what we did really helped them, and it's still pushing them on even right now. In Kenya, we had a second lockdown in May, just the other day, and the school leaders were worried the schools were not going to reopen. However, they still felt that the pathways to reopening was also a guide that was helping them just prepare as we were waiting to see whether the lockdown was going to be lifted. But thank goodness, schools are now on since Monday this week. Yeah.
No, that's great. I know you were in the midst of delivering our program when they announced within 4 hours all of Nairobi going under lockdown. And I think you got back at 2 a.m. that the next morning, and oh my gosh, that's my worst nightmare is this lockdown affecting someone on our team in that way. But you're a miracle worker. My last question for you, Anne, a little bit on this technology that we've just rolled out, with our schools, looking at the blended learning model, mixing the in-person training complemented by, digital resources delivered on a tablet. Adrien's going to talk about that in a bit more detail, but from your experience thus far and all of our preparations and beginning to implement this in Kenya, what have you seen and what value do you see this new strategy bringing to the schools?
Wow, this new strategy is actually very exciting, and the school leaders are also very excited. So one of the things that we have witnessed is that there is increased and continuous engagement. Up to today is a holiday, but school leaders will still call to find out what to do, where do I get this information, others giving feedback on how they enjoyed it, to just keep checking on and assessing their schools. So there's increased and continuous engagement when it comes to the school leaders and the education specialists. But also the most interesting thing is that their collaboration with other schools has also increased because they are now partnering, they're now talking together, and now the clusters, our model has clusters, which are groups of schools within one locality that come together and work together, and those are the schools we work with. So we realize that within the clusters, again, the schools are pairing up and coming together to support each other using this technology a bit. So also there is accountability. The school leaders felt that this is going to really help them become accountable because earlier on, as you said, Renee, what we did is we would train them one-on-one, but once they take their notes or we give them the handouts, no one knows where they would keep the notes. But the best part about technology is that you always have your mobile on your hand. So the tablets are coming in very handy for them because they are also ensuring that there is individual learning. They are following up on what we are talking about. They are following step by step. They are able to understand, I'm coming from this step, so I'm heading to this other step. And that is also bringing in knowledge retention. So we are finding that now even school leaders that we struggled with earlier on and we had to keep on following up on them, they are now acquiring the knowledge much better and easier because they do have the knowledge at hand. One of the things is that technology is fun. So everybody is excited, everybody is motivated, and the school leaders especially are just excited to make sure that they are following up on what we are doing. So what this partnership has done for us is that it has made our work more engaging, much more fun, and challenging in a very positive way. So the school leaders are enjoying, we are enjoying working with them, we are in constant communication with them because they want to know what is going on, what is expected of them, and what are the next steps. Therefore, this is it's just an exciting time for all of us, and we can't wait to see what happens in the future.
Thank you so much, Anne. I love that part about technology being fun, and after the last year we had with school closures, I'll take that. So I'd like to go to Adrien now and talk a little bit more about the technology piece. So Adrien and his team at Chalkboard Education have developed this incredible learning management system that works in really low resource settings without internet on mobile devices. And so Adrien, could you tell us a little bit about the what and the why? So what you've developed and kind of the challenge and the problem you're trying to address with this product.
Yes, thank you, Renee, and thank you, Ideagen, for the invitation. So Chalkboard Education essentially is an educational technology company. So we are based in Accra, in Ghana, and we were founded in 2015. So what we are doing is we're developing, as you said, an e-learning software that is tailored to the African context, which means it works with low or no internet connectivity. It is very easy to use on small or old phones, on any tablets. And also it's accessible for people who are new to technology, who are not very literate. So over the years, we've improved the tool thanks to our team of engineers, all trained in Ghana. And it grew into a complete learning management system tailored for remote and rural learners. So we've added stuff like asynchronous analytics, which makes impact measurement very easy for our customers. We've added all sorts of features such as quizzes or exercises that people can take even without the internet, which is also very, very important for learners who have very intermittent connections. And of course, the goal of all of this is to make training remote populations very easy for anyone willing to endeavor in this essential mission. The main challenge that many nonprofits and even academic institutions and companies were facing, that we heard, was how do we impact the lives of people who are remote, who are often spread out and generally very busy with daily activities, in a way that makes sense financially, so that it's long-lasting and, of course, it's scalable. And it is a very wide question. There's all sorts of answers to it, but technology brings part of an, and that's what we decided to bring to the table. Really, technologies are designed for this use case. And of course, to the most traditionally hard to reach target populations, which could be, like I said, people who are remote, or people who are illiterate, or people who are busy or always on the road, will enable more players in the training and education sectors to offer opportunities and alternatives to those who need them the most. It's really about making it easy. And yeah, I mean, it's that way we are actually very, very proud to observe that a majority of the learners using Chalkboard Education across our various partnerships indeed live, most of them in remote areas, so not in urban centers. They are often very young. Most of them are women. Actually, a majority of them are women. And they are now all able to learn new skills and improve their abilities at work. That's thanks to e-learning. So we are very proud of that.
Thanks so much, Adrien. I think that really gives us a really good idea of the product you've developed and exactly who you've developed it for. Could you talk a little bit now about the partnerships and how you approach partnership? You know, you have this great product. Now, how do you get it to the learners, to, you know, the students? And why is partnership so central to what you do?
Well, yeah, we are. I mean, in essence, we are service providers. Service provider to nonprofits, universities, like I said, to corporates, to government sometimes, anyone who is engaged in training. And in that sense, partnerships are not only central, I would say, it's actually vital to our organization, because we ourselves would never be able to tackle the diversity and the depth of the training needs of the people we are working with. We just don't have the skills, we just don't have the experience. So indeed, we need the expertise and the experience of our partners, such as Opportunity EduFinance and others, in their respective sectors and geographies, to leverage our technology and to create real impact. I usually like to say that we are essentially just a tool, and a tool is nothing if we don't have an expert to operate that tool.
Yeah, that's really helpful. And lastly, can you talk a little bit about the different partnerships that you've had? When we first met, I think you're working primarily in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire, and really with universities. So I think your product had really evolved to serve that sector. And now with our new partnership, the pilots that we've run over the last few years, and now the scale across the 6 new countries in Africa, can you talk a little bit about the evolution of these partnerships and the difference between them and the work that you've been doing?
Yes, it is very big. COVID-19 has really changed the game for us. There is an enormous increase in research and need for online teaching tools. So of course, our company as a company, but also as a tool, has grown a lot. So like I said, Opportunity Edu-Finance, uses our platform within a blended learning program. So you guys do an extraordinary work supporting school resiliency, training school leaders, teacher mentors, and we are in 7 countries together. And we are really, really proud of this work, notably because, of course, COVID-19 is posing one of the greatest challenges that school leaders have seen in years, if not forever. So that's extremely important, and we are very happy to see that the tool that we've been piloting with you previously proves to be even more useful now that the situation has changed. So we are very happy of that. But of course, that's just, like you said, one of the many contexts technology, our technology, but also other technologies similar can be used for. To give some examples, for example, that we do at Chalkboard, we are also used, for example, in Rwanda. So we use in the Rwandan rural regions by a partner nonprofit. And what they do is they train nurses and other healthcare professionals on child nutrition with the goal of tackling child mortality. And so this year, we are actually enlarging this partnership to multiple East African countries, and we are adding a training module on sickle cell disease. So the goal of this specific partnership is to durably reinforce the capacity of health workers at the front line of, I guess, two of the most urgent health challenges that we have on the continent right now. Chalkboard education is also used in Ghana and Ivory Coast, like you mentioned, because of course our team is based in Ghana, and historically we've been operating mainly in Ghana. And in this geography, we train NGO workers, for example, farmers, and we can train all kinds of professionals in the cocoa industry on child safeguarding and child labor prevention. So that's an extraordinarily important challenge as well. We're happy to be in that region. In Ghana, we do teacher training. We train over 9,000 primary school teachers every year, for example. It's one of our largest program in terms of impact. We also offer a variety of university language classes on our platform. We do exam practices. And what's interesting with this technology is that it's not just limited to this continent, to Africa. It's actually much broader than that. So, for example, just with Edu-Finance, we operate now in Colombia. But we have conversations in Southeast Asia. We have conversations in Northern Canada to reach indigenous populations, for example. We have conversations in France to reach people who live in rural areas with low access to the internet. So there is an infinity of contexts in which the Chalkboard education platform can be used. And this is, I think, all because essentially we design our technology to work in a very tough rural West African environment where internet is very difficult, where the level of literacy is one of the lowest. And so essentially in every other context, it only works even better.
Thank you so much, Adrien. That was really helpful to know. And I've actually just learned, I had no idea you're working in Northern Canada. That's amazing. And I think one of the greatest things about this partnership is how simple the platform is, and how, that the beauty of simplicity and how we can localize it to so many places because we work across 3 continents, and that's really, really great. So thank you so much. Now I'd like to go to Kyle Thornton, who's the Education Portfolio Manager at Cisco Foundation. And I'd love to hear first from you, Kyle. So why education? So why technological innovations in education? Why is that a key part of what Cisco Foundation wants to invest in?
Well, again, Renee, thanks for allowing me to be here, and it's great to participate with today's panelists. It's absolutely critical for Cisco to invest in education and increasing access to education globally, because Cisco believes in an inclusive future for all, involving partners, governments, civil society, in the collaboration of bringing together individuals for the benefit of solving problems in our communities. And without education and without access to education, the fundamental building blocks of being able to solve and address the problems that face society around the world, societies and cultures, can't be addressed. And so at a very fundamental level, breaking down the barriers to access education and enabling those individuals who are providing solutions to overcome those barriers is critical to our investment strategy and mission. Cisco, as the world's largest and leading IT company in the world, strives for this inclusive future for all through our investment strategy at the Cisco Foundation in one form, also through the engagement of our conscious culture and inclusive culture at Cisco to engage employees in giving back, volunteering of their time and resources to help address needs all around the world. So with these paired together, when you consider the barriers to accessing education that exist that involve economic, lack of inclusion, challenges such as Anne has raised on the call today, where there are barriers for girls and young women around the world to access education for various reasons. It may be related to access to the internet or the digital divide. As Adrien has pointed out, the need for technology that can overcome and reach into areas that lack connectivity or that have intermittent or periodic connectivity, as well as climate and geography challenges that prevent students and teachers from accessing each other to provide an educational context for those students to be successful. And then finally, train teachers, which is a large part of why Cisco and the Cisco Foundation are here with Opportunity International today, which is to enable and train teachers who need to access technology to help students, whether they be in the pod structure, as Anne's brought up, or as Adrien's called out, the need to be able to provide engaged learning activities even when students and their teachers cannot congregate due to COVID-19 or other factors that may result from climate, weather, political or social context, or other social economic reasons. So it's absolutely critical to overcome these barriers, and that Cisco sees their role in a unique and differentiated way. Many funders support ongoing operations of programs. Other funders and governments support the establishment and maintaining of established and entrenched programs. But many organizations that work as funders shy away from or view as too risky projects that may be innovative or new in bringing together proven individual components of a solution or approach involving technology. And that's where Cisco can step in and help. In our approach, we assess the risk of solution and are seeking innovative new solutions for overcoming the barriers to education that I've discussed. And as you've seen on the podcast so far, both in the experiences relayed by Anne and by Adrien in the Chalkboard Education Solution, you can see how coming together collectively, Cisco's investments can help further and improve teacher training, access to teachers who are qualified, and to improve the engagement between teachers, families, and their students.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kyle. It's really, really great to see the way Cisco Foundation takes its years and decades of experience in the technology sector and investing that knowledge and resources into kind of the most fundamental part of every society, and that's education. I think I personally and professionally agree that education is absolutely fundamental. And I know that you work with partners all across the globe. I've had the opportunity to meet many of your funding partners. It would be great to hear about how you measure success, and I know success might look very different across all of the different countries and different organizations that you fund. How do you measure success, and what does success look like?
Renee, great question. I think when you start with the outcome and you measure towards that outcome, you gain learning and experience that can help inform proven practice. And so I start with the barriers, right, brought up on this call. When the barriers to accessing education are inspected and understood on a local, country, regional, or global basis, unique and curious solutions can emerge. In the case of how we measure at Cisco and the Cisco Foundation, it's critical that we're focused on direct service organizations who are informed by data and are looking specifically at how to influence the key measures of student performance, which would be dosage or exposure to quality and qualified assets, curriculum, materials, other learning materials that may be provided locally, access to literacy, numeracy, as well as science, technology, engineering, and math skills, training, and education domains to help those students be successful. So dosage or attendance is one measure of that, but how during COVID can we encourage students to attend school when we have social distancing, or as we're seeing around the world, waves of disruption that are related to economic, society, or due to the pandemic. And so we need to look closely at solutions that can address these learning gaps and fight back and push back against learning losses by students. The second area that we look at is around modifying solutions, investing in solutions that modify the behavior of the participants that are involved. How do we create a culture or an environment within schools, classrooms, and between teachers, their students and pupils, and parents and families that they work with collectively to influence the behavior of those students to be successful and persist in obtaining an education, to retain what education is provided, meet those and exceed proficiency guidelines by country, and see the true benefit of accessing education, not just attending or being present. And then finally, that we invest with organizations that seek to measure those outcomes and learn from them. And I think Adrien has pointed this out, as well as Anne on the call, that it's absolutely critical to be informed by information and feedback from students, the practitioners, the teachers, the facilitators involved with delivering and engaging with students, and leaders within a system to come together collectively to address this. And I believe that Opportunity International has a key strength here with its Pathways to Excellence program and other integrated system level emphasis on data and data quality, to have data and the learning of data be able to replicate and propagate across a country, region, or even a global context. And this opportunity that I'm describing is not easy to accomplish. No one has it completely figured out, and we're all learning and evolving as a society. But attendance, behavior, and course outcomes for students will always be at the center of what Cisco and the Cisco Foundation strives for, and to inform and strengthen teachers and their role as teachers, the roles of teachers to be prepared and to be informed in the use of technology and the latest in process and proven practice to help advance the needs and address the learning gaps and needs of students globally.
No, and I can definitely attest to that. I think through this co-creation process of our own partnership, teachers were definitely at the center in every part of how we measured success and outcomes. And I particularly like the way that you worked with us through COVID-19 school closures and really reevaluating what success looks like in a situation that none of us had ever experienced before. And it was great to really be there together in this. So thank you so much, Kyle, on that. And then my last question for you, Kyle, I know you work with so many different partners, as I mentioned before, and you receive a lot of proposals and concept notes about different types of innovations. What do you see as often maybe the key oversight that organizations and development teams, when they're developing kind of their program strategy or their technological innovations? Is there, a step that you see people kind of leave out or not think about? I think this would really help our audience, make sure that they're, focusing on their program, really, really critically in a way that would be successful.
It's a great question. Constraints often bring innovation, and curiosity can yield interesting innovations in and advancements in both education and the evolution of or advancement of a solution within the world today. When we think about some of the examples that Adrien shared on this call, when you think about the constraints of working in an environment with limited or no connectivity or intermittent connectivity, and then being able to develop technology that can embrace and work within those constraints to provide an education experience that's needed by students in locations in West, Central, or East Africa. Not only are we seeing the opportunity for a Pan-African solution made in Africa by individuals from Africa, but to see how that can replicate and propagate to parts of the world that may not have had the acute or specific use case to solve. And so it is interesting, and it's wonderful to learn about Chalkboard Education's work in Canada, particularly in the northern Canada regions in the Arctic, that can move forward and overcome some of these connectivity challenges and barriers, which we're seeing throughout the United States, Central, Eastern, and Western Europe, and Asia. And these connectivity and digital divide challenges will continue to persist even after the pandemic, which will succeed and will eventually fade away into the background. Unfortunately, digital divide challenges will likely continue to exist, and we'll need solutions that can overcome and bridge these barriers for either connectivity access or teacher enablement, or to reach students and families where they are on the edge of connectivity to advance learning and learning outcomes, and to open the opportunity for those students to take advantage of the digital economy and the world of technology that benefits all of us.
Well, thank you so much, Kyle. I would like to now end our panel with one final question for all of the panelists. If you wouldn't mind sharing with me, and I'll start with you, Anne, one kind of life-changing takeaway that you would like to leave with our audience today. And it doesn't have to be anything huge or monumental. It could be something small that's affected you personally or professionally in the work that we do together.
Yeah, thanks, Renee. You know, working with people who don't have lots of resources is one of the things we do. And then coming to a time when their lives had to stop. And then all of a sudden, come this year, we introduced the new partnership that we have with Chalkboard, and we bring in the digital platform that we're working with. It was such a humbling moment to see the school leaders just embrace it so well, and also get so excited. As I said, technology is fun. Most of these school leaders don't even have smart gadgets. But seeing them really strive to understand the gadgets, understand the tablets, understand the flow of the work that is in there, really made us feel very humble and happy to see that they are ready to see their schools thrive. They are ready to see their businesses thrive as well. But above all, they are ready to engage with us, partner with us, and ensure that the children in their schools and in their communities are thriving. The children are actually, you know, most of the goals that they have and values that they have in their schools talk of a holistic child, but they don't have those resources to bring out a holistic child by the time the child leaves their schools. But this was one of the things in our takeaway, that they felt that now they can be able to bring up a holistic child. Because if we talk about behavior management, they just need to go back to the tablet, look at the Chalkboard app, and get some information on how to bring up a policy, to develop a policy within their schools. If they're talking about financial management, they feel that now they're going to be at a better place. So one of the things I would like our audience to go back home with is that this partnership that we have with Chalkboard has really enabled our school leaders feel that they are more equipped, they are happier, and they are ready to see their schools thrive. and to send out at the end of the education term, to send children who are well equipped for the 21st century skills.
Thank you so much, Anne. And Adrien, your last key takeaway for the audience, any kind of life-changing element that you would like to share with us?
It is a tricky question. I mean, what I like about Chalkboard is that now more and more it's not so uncommon that we meet actual Chalkboard education users, notably in Ghana, because we have quite a bit of users over there. The last story I heard actually was just yesterday. It was our marketing officer, Pakofi, was telling me this. He used to be a student at Ashes University in Ghana, which is a pretty good university located north of Accra. And actually one day he was at the cafeteria. He told me he caught the lady working there actually using Chalkboard education on her phone. And he was quite surprised to see her using the app. Turns out she was actually, dreaming to become a primary school teacher. And of course, she couldn't afford to go full-time to university because she had to work and she had to take care of her family. And so she found this job as a lunch server at another university where she could make money and at the same time study on her phone to make progress towards a school teacher degree. I don't know if she's graduated now. I hope she is. It was a couple of years ago. But it's typically the kind of situation. It's almost too beautiful to be true, because that's exactly the kind of situation we wanted to develop this application for, actually, to help this university. In this case, it's Jackson Educational Complex, which is located in Ghana, which trains teachers, reach more people who would not have access to the campus otherwise. And in this case, helping a young lady becoming a primary school teacher in Ghana.
That's incredible. And I know, Opportunity and Chalkboard Education both have the unique privilege of seeing, firsthand what happens within schools and with students. So thank you so much for sharing that. And Kyle, lastly for you, you have, the unique opportunity of seeing so many different organizations implementing so many different types of innovations. So I'm really keen to hear from you what kind of, life-changing impact or experience or thing that you've observed, in your own work.
Thanks, Renee. And thanks to the panel. I've learned a great deal from each of you today. I'm inspired by the opportunity that exists around the world today. There are many challenges. There are many reasons to be fearful and concerned. And at the same time, each of us can make a difference wherever we are in the world and solve problems and affect the environment that we live in. At Cisco, we believe that all of us can be global problem solvers wherever we are, and that through the internet and the access to technology, that can be a key bridge to what's possible around the world, to change, to innovation, to creativity, to connection, and that anyone, particularly individuals who may be in parts of the world where, as Anne pointed out, may lack access to key resources or fundamental resources, is to see those gaps right now as an option to innovate, to create, to follow the example of an organization like Adrien leads today in Chalkboard Education, to use technology and to see those constraints as an opportunity to innovate and to be creative and take advantage and embrace the new opportunities that are ahead and our changing world to have an effect and to solve the problems that are around us and not be consumed by them. So thank you for allowing me to be on the panel today.
Thank you so much, Kyle. That was a really nice point to end on. And for me, in terms of what I see as, life-changing impact is really partnership. And I'm not just saying that because of the theme of our conversation today, but, no matter how much expertise or experience you have you can catalyze that by adding the experience of someone else, you know, from a different field, from a different sector, from a different country, and it really helps you kind of go that extra mile, you know, when you're faced with a challenge that seems insurmountable. And so I think this partnership that we have, you know, with Cisco Foundation, with Chalkboard Education, has really allowed us to go that extra mile in bringing this new program to our 1,700 schools, you know, across 10 countries. So we're really, really thrilled to be launching this. I know we're going to continue to learn and iterate and evolve to make sure that we bring the best possible program to our clients. And so to wrap up, you know, I think this was an excellent combination of people really talking about, you know, what the challenge is, what is the problem we're addressing in the field, you know, thinking about the day-to-day environment of non-state affordable schools. So thank you, Anne, so much for sharing your insight there. And Adrien, you know, how do we use technology to address some, you know, big challenges, you know, reaching kind of the most under-resourced, you know, areas across sub-Saharan Africa with really, you know, a beautiful, simple product that can be localized in so many different areas. And then how do you invest in these types of innovations to ensure that they're sustainable, scalable, and effective? And I think, Kyle, you really brought that home for us. So I really want to thank you all today, calling in from the United States, calling in from Ghana and Kenya, and myself from Uganda. So it really is a global effort. I would really love to thank Ideagen for this platform to share the work that we're doing, the team that brought this panel together and really helped us prepare for this conversation. And thank you to our audience. Thank you for listening and wanting to learn and hopefully wanting to get involved in contributing your expertise and resources. So with that, I'd like to say thank you and goodbye.